Well, hello everyone and welcome to the first ever All Four Wheels podcast. I'm Joel.
And I'm Charlie.
And today we're going to talk about why we think driving in the UK is becoming less and less fun by the day. In fact, I can talk about it just on the drive down here this afternoon. It was horrendous and some
and
of my
we came
points...
from different directions.
I know, and it's becoming so much worse. But anyway, this is a first for me. I've never done a podcast before.
Yeah, no, this is the first for me as well. So.
I've been doing my It's Joel channel for about 4 or 5 years now. But never actually done a podcast. I've always wanted to do this. Podcasts are becoming a lot more popular now. Maybe that nudged me a little bit to get on with it. But the name All Four Wheels, I think me and a bunch of mates made up probably 7 or 8 years ago. And just never actually been able to use it. But now is the time. And I'm very excited to finally be doing this. And we've got my friend Charlie along to help. We're in a slightly dingy room here in my parents' house. But we've got to start off, humble. And then hopefully... if people listen and watch, then we might be able to upgrade that.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah. Charlie, I've known for a few years now, and we've done various things on the It's Joel channel before, which you might not have seen. Charlie was actually with me when we went to...
the Nurburgring.
Yeah, well, the last time I went to the Nurburgring, which was, I think, was that September last?
Yeah, it was September, I think.
We had
in
the
red...
R8. Yeah, the red Audi R8 rear-wheel drive performance edition.
It's a horrible drive down there, though, in the wet. If you remember.
Do you remember that? I'm trying to think, yeah.
We nearly aquaplaned across a few lanes.
I do remember, because I was... You'd never been to Germany before,
No,
right?
it's my first time. We were excited about the Autobahn.
The whole way I was saying, mate, wait, because when we get to Germany...
Well, no, because driving through Belgium, you were like, you do not speed through Belgium. This is a no-go.
Belgium, France, the UK, you just get onto that a bit in this episode, but you can't really take the mickey, so to speak. But in Germany, they still have de-restricted Autobahn, stretches of essentially their motorway where there's no speed limit. So the whole drive over, I was sort of saying,
patiently
this is going to be mental when we get to Germany. You're not going to believe this. But we did get to Germany, and it was just
chucked it
absolutely,
and it was torrential, like something a monsoon almost.
Yeah. So the irony of it was all is that when we got to the place where we could go whatever speed limit we want, we were probably doing 60 miles an hour because it was just so horrifying. And that rear wheel drive,
you don't want to push that too much.
It drives like a Lamborghini Huracan rear wheel drive. It just sort of will skip across the road if it wants to. But so we've done a few things together, and we just have lots of conversations all the time, Charlie and I, about cars and various topics that I want to go into, a bit like the one today. And we just thought it would be great to just do it on the camera. So here we are.
See if people agree and see if people disagree.
How are you feeling? Does this feel weird to you?
Not really.
Yeah, you're settling into it nicely.
Initially, I was a bit, nervous, but
it's cool.
Chilled out now.
So
it's just like talking to my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Except there's a camera there and all of this stuff,
and you're all looking at me.
So today, what I really want to talk about, I want to elaborate on my statement that I made at the very start of this podcast that driving in the UK isn't fun anymore. Now it's a little bit funny coming from us. We've barely been driving longer than most of you guys have.
Probably 7 years for both of us, isn't it?
Yeah, well, hang on. What am I now? I'm 26.
Yeah, I'm 26.
I've been driving 9 years,
Doesn't
actually,
feel like it, does it?
What's the date today? Oh, it's April the 20th today. I passed my test on April the 14th, 2014.
How do you remember that?
I don't know. I've just always remembered that day.
No claims?
So just over 9 years, no claims.
No,
I've never ever had to make an insurance claim. Have you?
No, I haven't. No, I lie. Someone else hit me, but... admitted fault straight away, to be fair. When you get out of the car expecting to,
have a big
bit of a
argument.
set to, and he went, I'm really sorry. I was like, great.
And it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm very lucky. I've never been in an accident involving anyone else other than myself. Touch wood. It's probably plastic, but there we go. I've crashed a few cars myself, which I've talked about in previous episodes on my YouTube channel.
We're all young once.
We're all young once, indeed. But anyway, we want to sort of bring up the point that we don't think driving in the UK is that fun anymore. It does seem to vary where you are in the UK. I know for a fact I do lots of stuff up in Scotland.
I was going to say Scotland.
When you
Wales.
go up there, Wales, certain parts of Wales, I think essentially where there's less people and there's more road, you can still enjoy yourself. But certainly down here in the southeast where we're both based, we're here in sort of the greater London area today, and it's just getting so much harder to enjoy a motor vehicle these days.
Well, I mean, your content on YouTube is cars, so you're in your car way more than I am. But I used to, when I was 19, 20, used to go out, when you're bored, go out for a drive. But the thought of that now doesn't even excite me, because I think you're just gonna, either sit in traffic, hit a few potholes, or there's just roadworks everywhere.
I think it's got probably largely to do with just the amount of people, and there's more cars on the road now. But what I wanted to touch on a little bit today is, I don't want this to become a political podcast.
No, definitely.
But the first episode, I really wanted to talk about this driving thing.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a little bit political. But one thing I noticed driving here today, so my parents are just within the new ULEZ zone, which is not actually going to come into effect until August later this year.
If it does ever come into effect.
But interestingly, what has Sadiq Khan done? He's put up all of the signs.
Yes.
So as you drive, you come off the M3 here, you drive sort of up the streets to
there's a camera.
And there's all of the ULEZ signs and the cameras. They've all been put up famously for about £200 million or something like that. But one thing they haven't done is put next to the sign, not valid until August. So I actually went on the website earlier as if I'd gone into the ULEZ zone, which you would think...
you read the sign.
If you didn't know, you saw the sign, you think, I've gone into the ULEZ zone.
Maybe you were from Europe and you just come over in a rental car.
Put in the number plate, as I did, because I came in the Jaguar today, so that is not ULEZ exempt, which is another thing we'll talk about in a minute. And put in my plate, and it was going to let me pay.
I can't believe that it actually lets you, get to the payment screen. It should say, not valid until August or that should be the first thing on the website.
I mean, admittedly, when you go online and you select that you are in ULEZ, it does then highlight the smaller area, which is current, and not the larger one. Yes. But for someone who's not in the know, and actually the first time I saw the signs, I really had to check. I just thought, it seems a little bit seedy and slightly criminal that they would put all of these signs up.
I fully understand, you have to get it up. You can't do it all in one day. I get that.
But why not put
something... No, but you see on the motorway, camera not in use. Should say that, shouldn't it?
Yeah, they're the funniest thing. Whenever you see...
But then I never feel confident that it actually is in use. I was just going to say... I think that sign just been left there from about a year ago.
Even if I see camera not in use, I will still... I mean, I'm never speeding, obviously, but... I will still really make sure that I'm not going over the speed limit. It's so funny, isn't it? And that's the other little pet hate. I'm completely changing the subject, really, but people who slow right down when they see a highways agency vehicle, they are not the police. They do not have cameras. They will not stop you for speeding. They don't have any powers
to stop you, I don't believe.
But it's not even. Yeah, it's not even about the speeding. No. Though. It's like they're doing 70 miles an hour and then they slow down to 60 because they're worried about.
Well, people even do that past a police car, and I think a policeman is not going to pull you over if you're doing 60.
No one wants to overtake a police car, do they?
No, he's probably just on his drive home from work. He's had a 12-hour shift. He's not interested.
Even if you were, yeah. But this whole ULEZ expansion thing is proving to be a little bit frustrating for me, actually, because I don't know how much I've talked to you about this, Charlie, but Katie, my now wife, and I, we would like to buy ourselves a daily driver, because at the moment, I'm driving a Nissan Pixo. That's my daily driver.
You quite like it, though.
You know what? It's
it does
great.
The job.
It's very economical. Yeah. It does the job, but it's manual. And most of the time I'm spending on the M25 in traffic. It's not ideal. And, I want something a little bit nicer. And Katie and I both, as you know, love Range Rovers. And what I was going to do, we've had two L322s before, which is the sort of 2002, 2012 generation car. As we love them so much, I said, why don't we just get a last of the line, 2012 TD V8 You can get them for around 10 grand.
Yeah, well, I was looking the other day just on Auto Trader in general, and I saw I'm not too clued up on Range Rovers, to be fair, but it was a Range Rover Sport.
Yeah.
I thought of you when I saw it. It was in Guildford, which is obviously near where I live.
It's a bit of you, that, a Range Rover Sport. I can imagine you.
Yeah. Black, and it was only 18 grand. So I think it was probably similar era to what you've just mentioned, but 72,000 miles. I thought,
amazing, isn't it?
I was going to send it to you, but then I never know where things are Cat N or Cat D. It wasn't one of those, but I'll probably send it to you and you'll send it straight back saying, did you not miss this bit at the bottom or something?
That is the sort of thing I do. I'm a bit of a dick.
Yeah, well, I don't read the technical stuff. I just look at it and go, well, that looks nice. Read the performance features.
But the thing is, right, with this ULEZ expansion, so I was like, let's get a TD V8 the 4.4, which is a really great engine. Everyone loves that engine. Well, I mean, it's got its problems, but it's basically you can drive around in a Range Rover and still get around 30 miles per gallon. Very reasonable. Yep. However, because of ULEZ and because of the fact my parents live just inside the zone, it's thrown the sort of diesel thing out of the water, because you can't have a diesel unless it's after 2015 now. Yes. Got to meet Euro 6 emissions or something.
But I live in Surrey, and they're even expanding it into areas of Surrey, which confuses me a little bit because...
Well, I think it's essentially anything inside the M25.
Yeah, but I don't think Watford's in the M25. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Watford's inside the M25, and that's still classed part of London.
I think it is.
No, I remember a pub quiz. There was one question that said, what's the only place in London outside the M25?
You're right. I'm just going to have a look on here.
Everyone's probably laughing at me about this really stupid comment.
Watford.
It was some Christmas... I might be wrong.
It's in the M... Oh, no. Where is the M25? It's in the M25.
No, it is.
That does sound like the sort of thing at a pub quiz, though. That would be like
there was something about Watford.
Watford does spill out, but not quite enough. So my point being, though, is that now, instead of buying a sensible diesel L322 Range Rover, I'm now looking at 5-litre supercharged examples.
That excites you more.
Are ULEZ exempt. And the realistic thing is that I'm going to need a ULEZ exempt car because my parents are going to live here for a few more years at least. I still like seeing them. So to have this really nice Range Rover that we both bought together and not actually be able to drive it to see my parents, which is something we do regularly, that would really suck. So this whole ULEZ expansion thing is forcing my hand from a relatively sensible diesel to a supercharged petrol car, which I'm kind of not complaining about, but I think the day-to-day cost of fuel is probably going to be a little bit more with a supercharged petrol.
It confuses me a little bit in the sense of, when we were growing up, I remember, looking on TV and stuff, it was diesel was the way forward, and now fast forward, 15 years.
So do you think that
it's now not the way forward?
The weird thing that's happened is that there was that whole diesel push, I think, in the noughties, and then that came crashing down.
Yeah.
And then the whole sort of hybrid and electric thing started coming to the fore probably 10 years ago or so now.
I'd say even less now.
But around the same time, that's when petrol engines started and diesel engines started to get really efficient. They used to,
exactly.
They started being able to get Ford Fiestas to do 80 miles per gallon, but still have 120 horsepower.
But, you think back to, we were talking the other day, an Audi S5 from probably 2008. It was a naturally aspirated V8, and then after about 2012, every M car was either turbocharged. The engine size dropped. C63s, they're not actually 6.3, are they?
It's a 4-cylinder now. The new C63. I can't.
But it's obviously they can't really change the name now after all this time.
But it's so strange because they're now doing this whole push for electric cars, and this is a whole nother topic. And this first episode was always going to be very rambly. We don't know what we're doing, but they're doing this whole push for electric cars now, and I just think it's such a shame because combustion engines started getting around 10 years ago really efficient. Like a Ford Fiesta would do 90 miles per gallon if you drive it well. Yeah. And yet we're still pushing away.
The challenge we did on the way back from Germany on your YouTube channel, we drove the R8 on one tank of fuel.
That's right.
From all the way in Germany back to Aylesbury.
We drove from the Nordschleife to Buckinghamshire. Did we go to Buckinghamshire? Yeah. And I think it was about 400 miles door to door.
I mean, it was the most boring drive I've ever been on.
60, 70 litre Audi R8 V10 tank. We averaged about 30 miles per gallon.
We had the lorries going past us, but there was points where I was saying, Joel, just get on with it.
The drive there was a bit more fun, although having said that.
But Jeremy Clark, I was telling you so many times, you're like, no, but Jeremy Clarkson used to say, didn't he, sometimes just driving fast is actually more efficient than driving slow. But
well, I've done a few of these things now. It's a fine line. If there's ever a hill, you would certainly not want to brake to maintain a lower speed. You would just turn the cruise control off or whatever and just roll, even if it means you're going 130 miles an hour on the bottom of it. That was interesting, wasn't it? Gosh, I've done lots of those fuel economy challenges now.
That shows an R8.
Even
that was only built last year.
Even a V10 can be pretty efficient.
You can still drive it efficiently if you wanted to.
But the second you put your foot down,
it's all gone.
It's 7 miles.
I think on the autobahn we did about half an hour.
I think it was about.
We did a whole tank of fuel.
I did a video on my channel. I'll link it above.
It was crazy to watch.
We did 207 miles per hour in the end on the German autobahn in this Audi R8. But we were probably going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down for about 30 minutes trying to get the run. Obviously going up really fast.
We just stumbled across that.
Coming back, letting the car cool down, etc., etc. But I think we went through a whole tank, didn't we, in that sort of 30 minutes. Probably needed 50 miles.
I think we both needed a Red Bull afterwards. We both stopped.
that was actually a wild experience. That was probably the craziest experience.
I don't think I'd been above 140. So for me, not being in control of the car, it was very.
You did well.
But I trust. Of course, I trusted you, and you always said, if you ever felt halfway through, it wasn't safe, whatever, you were going to pull out. So
Yeah. You have to be careful with these things. Obviously, check tire pressure and things like that. But I have to say, I guess I didn't fully appreciate at the time.
You can hear me in the video at the end saying, "That's enough. That's enough." I think we went over a bump in the road, and that's when I thought it just shows that if you just get one of those wrong, it was dip in the road.
On the top run that we did, and I'm really pushing it now. We're going downhill, and then we're even starting to go uphill slightly because we've got a bit of a wind. We're still climbing in speed, and then I think it just stops. But at that point, you can hear Charlie going, I'm done. And then I let off. But that's another thing we could talk about, I think.
For days.
For days. But I do remember consciously in that top speed run, when we had that final run, even though I think I probably could have gone even faster, you just got to know when to call it sometimes.
It's like anything in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
When enough's enough.
What do they say? You can't can't have too much of. No, I don't know.
Your endorphins were kicking in, and it was just.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is because you're so high off the adrenaline of doing this crazy.
I know people watching probably think that sounds crazy. You're getting high. You're getting this adrenaline kick off. Just driving fast. No, but like. Just
Mate, I could have jumped off a bridge. I was and like flown.
No, but it is so
ecstatic. It was
crazy. No, because the fine line between life and death is so small, and it gets smaller and smaller the faster you go.
Very deep,
very deep and dark. Anyway, we were talking about efficiency on cars.
How did we get from ULEZ?
Yeah, because I mentioned how fast the fuel went down when you put your foot down.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Come on, back onto ULEZ.
Well, I don't really have much more to say on ULEZ without getting political, but I think the whole thing. Well. It seems like a little bit of a tax on the poor people because, unfortunately, if you now have a diesel car before 2015, you can't drive it in London without paying £12.50
but also,
a day.
The trouble I find in the UK, my mum's got a ID3 electric.
The Volkswagen thing.
Yeah. It's okay, it drives fine. But we've luckily, because my dad from his work previously, we have a pod point charger in the house.
Oh, okay.
Which he managed to keep. I probably shouldn't say that, whoever he used to work for, but he managed to keep it. And so she can charge it at home overnight. But the trouble is, if they got everyone in 10 years' time, which is, I think, 2030, isn't it? Well, they said that theoretically they're not going to sell any more petrol or whatever.
Any non-EV.
Yes. So the big push towards electric cars, the infrastructure simply isn't there. You go to Cobham services on the M25, one of the busiest services I've ever been to. And there's probably 2 chargers, And it feels like it takes two, on one of those chargers. It takes 2-3 hours to get a decent amount of charge to carry on your journey. So what if there was, think of how many people we saw today on the M25. If half of them had an electric car, how are you all going to charge it? It's not like petrol where you just rock up to the petrol station, put it in, and leave. You're there for 2 hours.
It's
the
funny.
The infrastructure's not there, unfortunately, at the minute.
The thing is, what I'm more interested in is obviously they're going to. I don't know if it's actually going to. It's probably way more likely it's not going to happen in 2030 now. But they're going to stop selling new cars, so I can't go and buy myself a new Audi R8 anymore because they're not going to make them, or at least not one with.
This is our thought, isn't it? Our dream cars. Maybe in 10 years' time we will be able to afford them, but what will happen to the used car markets? Because will the naturally aspirated Ferrari suddenly be twice as much, or will it be less?
Yeah. So on that thought, there's never really been a new car apart from like now the new Range Rover. I'd buy one of them in a heartbeat if I could afford one. But I'm worried about in 10 years' time. Say I can afford then a Ferrari 430, which I've always wanted a Ferrari 430. They're 60, 70 grand now.
They're all going to be in Europe.
What happens? Yeah, what happens to those sorts of cars in 10, 15 years from now? When we can afford to buy them?
Are you just taxed to the hill on them that you can't actually drive them?
That's what I'm intrigued by. What are they going to do about that?
They become a track car.
Because you know what? If they're only going to sell electric cars brand new from 2030 onwards, okay. If I can still drive my straight pipe 6-litre V12 BMW 7 Series and pay normal tax, fine, great. Have your electric cars.
Yeah, but you won't be paying normal tax.
But I think you're right, Charlie. I think they're going to probably.
It would just have to be. You'll have to buy. Let's say now a daily driver could be a Porsche Macan or whatever. You would have to then just make it a weekend car because of the charges you might have to incur if you drive into London
boring.
With it.
It's so
your dream car might have to be just the weekend car, not a daily driving one. But
it almost felt like when I passed my test, there was
the dream was alive.
Sense of there was this sense of euphoria.
The world is here. Yeah,
that Britain was a great place for drivers, and we really celebrated.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Country.
Is it just Britain? Is it happening in other places around Europe?
It's happening everywhere. I think we still have it quite easy in some ways, but you've seen Germany. Driving in Germany is like driving in Forza Horizon. It's
we're near the Nurburgring. I did say to you, it's like a video game. You just go, look, there's an R8, and you're in the forest, and
it's amazing.
Yeah, but
so we're going to try and make the most of that while it lasts. That's another thing we actually want to talk about in a future episode. We both love going to Germany and love the Nurburgring.
It was my first time going to the Nurburgring when I went with you, and we didn't actually manage to get around it.
But you've caught the bug, haven't you?
I have.
You've caught the bug just from watching all the cars.
Well, I saw this 60-year-old woman just going around in her Skoda doing about 20, and I thought I said to you, she'd taken the wrong turning on the motorway or something.
Yeah. But one thing we've talked about because Charlie's never gone round the Nurburgring, obviously instantly I think right, well let me get a car and we'll take you over there. But I don't actually have anything. Short of a Nissan Pixel.
And I'm not going to take my 116 round there.
No, you know what?
I could,
drive, it'd be great around there. But
the tyres are nearly bald as it is. So.
Yeah, well, that'd be an excuse to get rid of them. But maybe we buy, like, we get $5,000 together, maybe a bit less even, buy ourselves something that's road legal but also a bit fun, maybe like an early Audi TT with the BAM 225
and we can do
engine.
work to it, and that's going to be a whole
we can strip
series
the
maybe, or
boot lining out and all sorts of stuff,
and then see if it does actually make it around a lap of the ring.
Would you be interested then in seeing a little track series where we buy something, Charlie and I,
buy something that you can just get on Auto Trader for $2,000 now, and turn it into a little track weapon with not changing engines, not changing drivetrains too much.
Something that brakes are not too expensive for, because pretty much every time we go,
if anyone knows any contacts near the Nurburgring who will do us a deal for every time we blow a pair of brakes.
That'd be very good. That's something I'd like to do later this year. I think, the season's April now, sort of, it's all back.
It'll just be logistics of it. I think the problem, if we're going to make it a track car, we're not going to really want to be driving it down there. So we'll have to have a think about that. I think there's a few cars I've got in mind, but we can talk a little bit more. It's more about getting the money together as well. But so it is interesting. I wonder what's going to happen to driving in this country. Everything just seems to be a little bit down at the moment with this whole ULEZ talk, and I'm very aware that that's actually only in London, this whole ULEZ expansion, and lots of you don't live in London. I think watch this space with it.
We'll have to see, won't we?
There's still an argument whether it will happen or not.
So one other thing I wanted to talk about on the roads, and again it's a little bit political, but they recently announced that they're getting rid of, or they're at least discontinuing, smart motorways.
I thought you were going to say the Golf.
What do you mean?
Are they getting rid of the Golf?
What, the car, the Golf,
yes.
The Volkswagen Golf?
Yes.
Why on earth would I want to talk about?
No, I just thought that's what you were going to say.
Are they actually discontinuing?
I think they are.
No.
They are for a few years. Yeah, they are. The Golf is, because my brother's got a Golf R, and we were talking about it. It was on the news last week. They're discontinuing the Golf as of the end of this year.
Or are they just discontinuing the
model
combustion Golf?
Probably, but
that would be very surprising.
It was a big article about the Golf. We'll have to
dig that. Maybe next week, or whenever we do this next episode, you can bring up some information around the Golf. But smart motorways. It's impossible not to get political, because the main issue with smart motorways is the high number of fatalities on certain stretches of road which are smart motorways. Now, essentially, what they are, not all of them, but there's this, I think all lanes, something smart motorways. Some of them basically don't have a hard shoulder.
Well, it does, but it turns into a lane when it gets busy. They can use the gantry, turn it into an extra lane.
But some of them don't, permanently don't.
Of course.
And there's just like refuge areas every, mile or something. But finally, the government have said that they're not going to make any more of them. I think there was like another 11 of them, or 11 stretches that were going to be going into production or whatever. And they're not going to do that, which I think is a good thing, because less of those pesky overhead signs and closing of roads and all sorts of stuff, which I think is a great thing for road safety, but that's not really what we're going to talk about on here. I did just want to bring up, though, you know how they have all of the variable speed limits stuff?
Don't get me started on them. No, there's a stretch of road. I mean, I work at Heathrow, so I probably do go around the M25 the same way 200 times a year. And I can guarantee, we could go there now, and I can guarantee you, I think it's the M3 junction to the A320, which is Chertsey, every day, and pretty much all times of day, without fail, it will be anti-clockwise. It goes down to at least a 40. And then I could probably tell you the gantry where it's going to go back up to a 60, because I know it so much. And I'm just questioning...
Irregardless of traffic levels?
Well, no, but it says queue ahead, and there must be some science to it. I reckon there's a camera on the slip road. When a certain amount of people join, it drops it because there's too many people joining. But it always says queue ahead, and it makes me really frustrated, because I think, well, there is a queue now because you've just made it into a queue.
Well, this is the
I don't know that I've always wanted to email highways agencies. I know that sounds really vain, but it's because I'm, when
that's exactly the sort of stuff I want to be doing.
When you're so tired. I mean, I fly for a living, so I've come off a long flight. I'm tired. I just want to go back to bed. And I'm like, this journey without the variable, there's no accidents 90% of the time. I could be getting home within 40 minutes, even driving, moderately.
Listen, neither of us are road safety experts. We've never been inside of a control room.
I've never done a speed awareness course, so
I've done several. But besides the point, I just don't see how. So my real problem is that you have all of these average speed check. Not average speed check. These gantries with variable speed limits. It's the way that they change them seemingly sporadically. Now, I mentioned that Katie and I come here a lot to my parents' house, and we live up in Buckinghamshire, so that involves a drive on the M25 and the M40. The M40 is fine for the most part, but the M25 section, the amount of times we've been driving home really late, sort of midnight, 1 a.m, and it's just 40. And there's nothing on the road. And then it will go back to national, and then it will go down to 40
I've seen
again.
one before, and I think I remember telling you, like, I phoned you like straight away, like, you're not going to believe what I've just seen. It was it was national, then the thing dropped to a 40, and then the next one along, probably 200 yards, was back up to national. So you've just told everyone to brake and then speed up again. I don't see how that's not dangerous.
And also, it's very niche, this one, but on the A41 near Aylesbury, there's these two physical signs that say 50.
We sound like we're moaning here, Joel.
We sound like a bunch of old men, which is, sort of what I am, really. But there's these two 50-mile-an-hour signs for some roadworks that did happen there about a year ago. They happened about a year ago. It was all going on, but they haven't removed these 50 signs. So it's literally, you come off this roundabout, you accelerate up to 70, and then it says 50.
For like 200 yards.
For maybe half a mile.
Yeah.
You come around the corner at National.
There's nothing there.
Just remove them.
Someone's forgotten. Someone's forgotten.
I'm half tempted
to go and move them yourself.
On my way home later, I'm going to pull over the Jag on the side of the road, hopefully not in a pile of smoke like normal, and remove those bloody signs.
They're all going to report you now, so you've said it.
All of those, how many? 8 people watching? What do you reckon?
Well, two of them are us, so
yeah,
and
so
maybe a dad.
6. So 3 people. But yeah, anyway, we could. If you want to hear us rant, that's fine. But we could rant for hours about this. I just think ranting is not particularly constructive. So that's probably enough chat about
moaning.
It's probably enough moaning about smart motorways and ULEZ and stuff. I mean, I'd love to hear your opinions on it.
And I'd love an expert, to tell us.
We should get an expert on the thing to tell us why they can't have all of the overhead gantries saying keep left unless overtaking. Yeah. But that's a whole nother story. But on our slightly earlier topic where we were talking about how, I want to buy a BMW M6 with a V10 in it, and I don't know when my time's going to come, hopefully not too long, but if I had 20 grand now, or if you had 20 grand now, to go and buy that car before the government tax it out of affordability, what would you be doing? 20 grand. You've been given 20 grand. You've still got your BMW daily driver. I've still got my Nissan Pixo and my.
But you've just been given 20 grand just for the purpose of buying a car.
Here's 20 grand. You can't do anything sensible with it. You have to buy a car.
Yeah, but this is where we differ, because I feel like you would go for what you'd see as a classic,
right?
Very much. Whereas, for me, I wouldn't be buying a 7 Series, but that excites you, doesn't it?
I wouldn't be buying a 7 Series for 20 grand either.
Not for 20 grand, but you might buy 2 different cars for.
That's the thing. I didn't.
No.
Maybe let's just say you have to buy one car.
And I'd be interested in your opinion on what I'm going to say, because I would go out and buy probably a 420 or a 430 BMW. I think they've always
really.
Yeah. Well,
you've got your BMW 1 Series.
I've always liked them. I always think that I don't like the M4. Because they're too common now. I'd buy an M3, but for me, I love the shape of the 4 Series. I do like it.
You know what I saw fairly recently, and I went, "What on earth?" I didn't know they did that. 440i.
Yes.
Basically, the 4 Series.
Yeah, I've always wondered why you don't use
the M140 or the M240.
But the M4's got the same engine, hasn't it?
I think
it's a straight line.
I don't know, this is where my
straight 5.
It's still a 6-cylinder. Right. They're all 6 cylinders. The M4 is obviously, I don't know if it's actually a different block or if it's still the B58. Well, but okay, so I give you 20 grand, you're going to buy a 4 Series.
Yeah, so I was going to say that, but then if you said to me it has to be something a bit more exciting, a bit more exciting, I thought of, well, you had one. I don't know. One of your YouTube friends lent you one, and you took me out in it, and he'd done a lot of work to it. Is it a 370 or a 350?
The 370Z.
I know
that was Cole's car. I think that's Cole. Have you still got that car? I can't remember.
He did something to the drivetrain. I think I'm right in saying
he had I think it was a Quaife differential on the back.
Yes.
So turning that at low speed, it knocks like a Jehovah's Witness. But I don't know if I can say that. I can probably say that, can't I? That's okay. That's fairly mild
PC.
Religious humour. Yeah, like at low speeds, that was a dog, but he's basically built it. I think he has still got it because I've seen a video where he's got.
I thought it was very cool.
He's got a hydro and everything. He built that car for drifting,
and we weren't even being stupid in it, but it was just a little bit on a country road. You can have a bit of fun, bit of tail.
So that's a really good shout.
For 20 grand, I guess you could pick one up. I don't know how much they are, but 14, and then do a bit of work to it.
Yeah, 14 would get you a really nice one. Yeah. They actually made them.
Was it a 350 or 370?
370.
Yeah.
So the 350.
The 350 standard models
came before.
Don't really appeal to me. When they don't have a rear spoiler and they've got that one exhaust.
What you could probably get for 20 grand is a 370Z Nismo.
Ooh.
And maybe a higher mileage, slightly earlier one, but I've also experienced one of them. My friend Anthony, who has a channel, Sports and Touring, he has an Nismo as well as a few other cars now, I think.
No, they're not really. You don't really hear about many people talking about them now, as in because I guess they still make the model. Right?
I actually always wanted. There was a various
when I was a kid.
I think it was when I was buying. No, but I think it was when I was buying that Porsche Boxster. Or I can't remember. Yeah, maybe a time
it's
before.
Similar style, isn't it?
There was been various times on my YouTube career where I've almost bought 350 or 370Z because I do think they are that. They're really.
I remember when
under the radar.
The film Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That was the main car that DK.
The 350.
Yeah.
I saw it the other day.
It was a Veil side. I'm sure you can probably somehow for another 30-40 grand get a Veil side body kit, but they are cool.
Yeah, there is something. I think I did a piece with that car that I took you out and that you just mentioned on my YouTube channel last year, and I think the title of that video was "Here's Why the 370Z is Underrated." Because they
it's like you don't see many of them. It's still a very performance technical good car, but you don't see it as it's not price ranged up there with the Porsches.
Some people would probably say it's a poor man's Cayman, wouldn't they? But really, I mean, I have to say
it's more of a street car.
Yeah, but if you ask me if I wanted a Cayman or the equivalent Cayman, which would be like a 987, maybe a 981 generation or a 370Z, I'd have the 370Z personally because I think it's just more of a GT car.
Yeah, but maybe when you're a bit older, you might change your mind on
when
that.
I've got a colostomy bag and I can't do more than half an hour. Actually, that's now. I can't.
When you're going,
half an hour.
You can take the 370. I don't go to them much, but on a summer's night, you go on a car meet or something,
Yeah, but that's
something to do on a Sunday.
I'm trying to find some evening car meets. I just can't find any of them. I'd really like to go to some more car meets this year, but I think your 4 Series, I think it's a lovely car.
It's not really I feel like before you have said to me that they're actually okay. You do quite like them, but you wouldn't buy one.
So with BMW, I think it's probably the same with Mercedes as well. Maybe even mainly BMW, Mercedes. But people who go out and buy a, I don't know, 30 grand 1 Series.
You're talking about
newish.
Yeah.
If you're let's say a 30 grand, let's say a couple of years old M240i, right, 30 grand. If you just get like something 1 year, my point basically, 1 Series, 2 Series, 3, the higher you go, the more like standard options you have. So like if you try and find an M240i or even a BMW M2 with like electric seats, it's really hard. But on a 4 Series, that would be like standard. So I would actually argue that like a 430i.
Well, no, but you think back to your 7 Series new. I don't know how you were saying how much that would have cost.
Oh, at least 100 grand.
So it's going to have very good.
The bigger cars depreciate more than the smaller cars. So essentially, what my point is that you're getting more for your money.
Yes.
I think if you had 20 grand, you could probably get a, I don't know, 3-year-old M230, right?
Yeah.
230. Or for 20 grand, you could get a 4-year-old 430, but it would have so many more features.
Specs on it.
It would have a heated wheel, probably. It would have electric seats. So, I have always said that I quite like them for that reason. Especially the Grand Coupe ones.
I hate them.
Yeah, this is why it's interesting, because we do have a very different taste.
I just like a very streamlined car. That's where I find like the 4 Series convertibles. If you've ever seen an M4 convertible, they're actually a different shape to the M4.
What, the 4 Series versus...
If you look at an M4 convertible and an M4 coupe, the shape is very, very different of the car. Very different.
I did not know that.
It's very boxy.
Yeah,
you would mistake it for a standard 3 Series. I'm not joking.
So I need to talk to you about this off camera actually, but there's a BMW convertible that I really want to buy right now. It's on Auto Trader. I found it. I'm looking for my next sort of project car on YouTube. I'll chat to you about that in a second, but maybe I
have an instinct what it might be, but we'll see.
Did I mention it? Maybe I mentioned it already. But anyway, that I think we've probably done a good bit of chat there for 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so. I hope you guys,
might have zoned out by now. You never know.
You're probably not watching, but if you are still watching, thank you so much
for giving us a chance to.
It's going to be very low rent to start with. I apologise. I think I've noticed actually as we've gone on that the camera has got very dark. It's got dark outside, and we've slowly descended into the shadows.
I was banging on the table for the first half.
Yes, you were. I could hear that. But hopefully you've enjoyed our waffle. I've known a lot of you from the It's Joel channel have always asked for a bit more longer form content, so I thought this was a natural progression.
You could have just sat here on your own, but
I could have done, but I didn't want to, man.
No, but I'm saying what you could have done, but it would have been a bit sedated. And
I've done my YouTube channel for years now, and it's basically 99% of it is just me, and it's quite lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
But I thought with a podcast it'd be really cool to get second dynamic on there. Maybe we could have sort of guest features. I'm sure there's lots of other YouTubers that you guys might be interested in that we can talk to. But at the same time, I don't want to do stuff that other people have done either. We get Shmee on.
Yeah, Shmee, do you want to come on?
What would you talk to?
And I'd want Zach's Garage to come on.
I was going to, Zach's Garage might be
I've
really
never met... Well, I have actually. I met him at Goodwood with you when we went there to Festival Speed.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when we were flew in a helicopter, actually. That was really fun, wasn't it? I loved that.
That was a great day. That was a first for me, helicopter. I don't know if it's a first for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I always vowed never to go on a helicopter.
That photo's framed on my wall.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it, Charlie?
But I'd love to get some more people on here.
I think this has been...
I mean, Shmee's very big as well, so, even someone... Anyone.
What would you... So if you had Shmee here now, what would you be talking to him about?
About how he got his channel to where he got it to. I know that's probably been done before.
Probably, but actually there's always something to be said for having different perspectives on things.
Yeah, no, of course, and how his lineup developed so quickly, and
I'd like to know what his sort of general taste in cars is, because he's got such a wide range of things. But I saw him the other day actually. But anyway, that's all good. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this first episode. What about you? Has it been okay?
Yeah, no,
it's better.
Maybe the first 5 minutes I was a bit, without even realising, you might look at me and think,
no, it's a little bit twitchy and nervous. I was definitely feeling that.
A bit uptight.
It's very different actually from doing sort of like, filming in a. Obviously, you don't really do any of it, but filming in a car with you're in a car and it's just you talking. Where now I've got this big microphone and whatever. But it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. I think we'll do more.
We're waffling again.
Let's hope that you guys enjoy it as well. Can I just say, if you can hit subscribe here on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it. If we can get this channel to 1,000 subscribers, it means we can monetize it, which means we'll likely make more episodes.
And we can do some more fun episodes.
Exactly. Then we can start building up that piggy bank for our project car to the Nurburgring. That would be awesome.
We need you guys.
That would be great if this podcast can pay for us to have a Audi TT to thrash around the Nurburgring.
We'd even, if someone met us at the Nurburgring, we'd get one of our fans to come and then they can just drive it around. Get Misha to drive it.
We could do like a competition, like our 10,000th subscriber could drive our Audi TT around the Nurburgring. How cool would that be?
We can even get Misha to drive it.
Get Misha, you can text
Misha. He can test it and be like, what have you done?
I don't think he'd want to drive it, would he? Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please do comment below. Let us know if this was an absolute dog's dinner or you did enjoy it. And also future topics, because I think we'll probably do another one of these. Anyway, thank you, Charlie, for agreeing to come on camera and help me with this. Yeah. It's been really great having you on.
Let's see where we go.
Let's see how this goes. But before we completely descend into darkness, thank you so much for watching. From me and Charlie, we'll see you next time.
Bye.